This version of the luffing fly jib for the Terex AC500 crane is in the colours of Felbermeyer, and the only thing that indicates that on the box is a very small label. The box is very plainly designed, but inside you get a sheet of instructions which are in colour and describe how to rig the jib in its full configuration. And lifting the lid, you see that both top and bottom are packed full of various parts. Let's have a quick look at some of the parts. The boom sections are all die cast and they're very straight, nicely painted, good items. This is the boom head section, and it's got a dolly wheel at the end. There's a bag of small parts with the model, and these include the pendant bars for connecting the jib to the luffing gear, some sets of bolts for joining the sections, and you get a winch drum with thread, a single sheave hook, and the luffing gear. Among the parts you have in the bottom tray are the piece that connects to the boom head, which is quite a strong and small piece. There are extra ballast blocks, 10 in all, 5 for each side, and they're all separate items. And also the main pivot point is in the bottom tray, and this is quite a big piece, and it's got a number of kind of moving parts to it. And it's fair to say that all of these parts are really pretty well made. So let's have a look at some of the many possible configurations. The first is a short fixed non-luffing jib, and you use the boom head to reduce the sections and then just the boom tip. And you can add straight boom sections either at the top or in the middle, or the larger section goes in near the boom head, and you can add as many as you like to get the jib as long as you want. Secondly, you can add the luffing pivot gear in just at the boom head, and once you've done that, then you just build the jib up as before with as many sections as you like. And there is a third option, which is to put boom sections between the boom head and the pivot point, although I'm not sure this is a valid configuration of the real crane. So we'll see now how the parts all join up, and start with the pendant bars. These just connect together at right angles, simple connection. Because they're not an inline connection, when you do put a lot of load on them, they tend to bend at the connection a little bit, but they seem strong enough for the task that they're needed for. Joining the jib sections is easy enough. It uses Conrad's plastic bolt system, so you just peel off all the bolts that you need, then align the two jib sections you want to join, get the holes lined up. Sometimes you need to clean the paint out of the holes if it's a little bit tight, but once you've got it aligned up, then it's just a matter of pushing each of the 4 bolts home, and when you've done that, just make sure they're well and tight, and it forms a good strong connection. I'll just set up a short fixed jib configuration to start with, and assuming you've pinned all the sections together, you just pull out the winch rope and feed it over the end of the jib, and then you can just feed it through the hook, which is quite straightforward on this model. And when you've done that, you tie it off on the end of the jib. There's no particular tying off point, but you can find something to tie on to fairly easily. So that completes the rigging of the fixed jib configuration. So if you're the kind of person that likes a nice rigid jib, then this is the configuration for you. Let's take time out now to look at the boom sections again, and the interesting feature here is that the various sizes do fit inside each other, which is a handy feature for reducing the transport requirement, and so you can get some good looking transport poses with these pieces. Next we'll look at the luffing jib configuration, and the first thing to do is to fit the luffing winch. The drum is spring loaded on both sides, and what you do is you just pop that into the ballast tray, and at the same time you need to press in the axles on both sides, and when you just get that just about right, you can push the whole arrangement down, and then the axles pop out into the holes that are in the ballast tray, and then the winch turns and it's fine, and you can just add on the ballast blocks, however many you want to pose the model with. Reeving the luffing gear is perhaps the trickiest part. It's not too difficult, it's just takes patience. First you fit the luffing bridle, pull out the thread from the drum, and the instructions tell you to thread it first under the pulleys on the ballast tray and then up and over the bridle, but I'm not sure that's right to the real crane, and it's certainly not the best way of doing it on the model. I found it's much better to run it from the drum up and over the bridle first, and then that uses all the pulleys on the bridle and on the ballast tray, and is a better configuration in my opinion. So here's the crane rigged with a short luffing jib, and it looks good like this, and is of a manageable size that you could display at home or in the office. But if you want to go large, you can join all the jib sections up, and you then get a jib that's 1.8 meters long. And if you extend the telescopic boom fully, you get a model that's 3 meters high. That's nearly 10 feet, and it's a very impressive looking crane. If you do decide to build the model up with a full length jib, then make sure all the connections are tight, and it's a two-man job to really put the jib up, and you need to do it with the jib up in the air rather than trying to lift it up as the crane would from a horizontal angle. Overall, this is a very impressive piece of model engineering by Conrad, and it creates something which has got a real wow factor even for people who don't actually collect the models. If you're lucky enough to have the crane, then this is a recommended kit.